Hey, it's Glines, my automator. Another episode of what we automated this week with AutoHotkey. Let's get into this. Let me use Prompt Assistant to start my recently modified files. This is a group of like 5 things. So it's gonna set my adjust my DPI, turn on Do Not Disturb mode, start my needs to move it up a little bit. My webcam reminder, which I just use to make sure I don't block, expect you to see something. I'll move this guy down a little, so this makes it easier for me to see what you can and can't see. And it's scanning my files right now. So we had another really crazy busy client week. So there's a lot of client work here. Let me just give you an overview there real quickly. We automate one program. Let's just say it's Excel for the purposes, right? We have different programs that automate Excel. And initially, the client had completely different instances of a couple different scripts automating Excel. And they didn't have a centralized library. So they also had multiple languages. So they had automations of Excel in both English. Excel is in English and Excel is in French, which made it really complicated, right? And so over the last maybe 9 months or so, we've been working with them and really vastly improving their scripts, but also setting it up where finally, just the other day, we were able to not only have a much more robust version of what they do, but B, have a central library that we automate Excel, both in English and French. And now for the 2 different programs they have, instead of having an English and a French version, they have one version, and it looks at their operating system and will switch automatically for them. So the code maintenance, as you can imagine, is incredibly easier. It used to be a nightmare, and we're just finishing it up. It's been a really long project, but it's going to save so much time and be much more robust. So I'm really proud. Irfan's did an amazing job, and Isaiah, but Irfan's the main person working on that, and did a really, really good job. So these are a point of what he's been up to. We actually created a whole new Git to just start kind of fresh with now that we have everything combined, so it's just not so messy. All right. Our other client, let's see, going here. So we'll talk through. So AJ, he's a client of ours. He does the B2 LinkedIn website. And I'm not going to go into the code, but he has some Excel stuff that we were working on for him. Also in Clipster, I gave him Prompt Assistant. Let me show you in Prompt Assistant. I'll come into Customize, and like this sending HTML. So in Prompt Assistant, we use Clipster, and this allows you to be able to have a template to paste HTML. So let me see here. What is the? I don't have a hotkey. I used to have a hotkey. Let's assign a hotkey for it. And now in here, I'll hit Control T, and bam, this is rich text that was in a template, which you can actually see if we come back into here. This is the HTML that we pushed into the clipboard and then pasted. Well, for whatever reason on AJ's computer, when he would paste, it would sometimes come up blank. And then, because right after inside Clipster we restore the clipboard, he wasn't able to just try to paste again. We'd have to do the whole process again. So we dug into Clipster a little and added, let me see here, I'll show you real quickly what we did in his version was we added these a little more code here on a casing, but this checks after we push that content into the clipboard as like either a picture or HTML, we then check to see that there's that content in the clipboard before we try to paste. And also right here, I told him, like, hey, we can comment that out so it doesn't restore the clipboard, the original clipboard, but this check above should be very robust, so he should be okay to just leave it there. But if he wants to be able to paste with the what we pushed into there instead of having it restore your clipboard, then he can comment that out. Now, this is all fine and good, but earlier this morning I was like, hey, you know what? There's a couple other things we might want to have, like rich text to be able to use. Now, getting the format in rich text is not fun, but it still would be nice to be able to use. And like, what if I have a file, and we have it where you can paste a picture, but what if I wanted a file, like to be able on another drive automatically paste a certain file that I have? So I'm updating the Clipster library to allow for definitely the files, maybe for the rich text. Rich text comes up a lot. It's just how do you create the rich text in a standardized way? It used to be able to use WordPad and make it easy and then save that. But yeah, so that's there. That was a fun little thing we're doing for him. Get back into this list. Cameron actually is someone that reached out to us. He apparently he works with some sort of tailor or something, and they were wanting to be able to right click and have options, and I haven't told him this yet because I said, we can do all those things, and we bill by the hour because he wanted a quote, and I'm like, yeah, it's unfortunate, it's impossible to come up with a quote because everything was fuzzy and changes, right? And even then, when they start working with us, they realize what we can do, and their scope always changes, and so I just say we work by the hour. But what I realized, actually, he probably could just get away with using Prompt Assistant because he wants to just be able to have a menu item or a hotkey to be able to make some choices. And because inside Prompt Assistant now, we can run AutoHotkey code, that makes it really flexible. It might just be an easy way for him to save a lot of money, just get Prompt Assistant and be able to tweak it. Because I saw his code, it wasn't bad. He was a decent coder. But I need to reach back out to him and tell him that. So here's the Clipster. So this Chemi script, this is I was playing with a tool. It's a new AI tool. It's open source. And so I had seen some really good things about it. It's a very large model, but it's open source. You can go to, was it Hugging Face? And play with it. And so I asked it to create a GUI in AutoHotkey. It gave me a nice, simple GUI, worked from the first time. So if you're interested in checking out a new open source AI that you could have locally run, you might check out Chemi. The search and replace in Word, it's a really, that's not the right file, but I have it down below because I moved it, is a really interesting example. Let me go ahead and jump to that one, which I think I have it open in right behind us here somewhere. Yeah, search and replace. So a buddy of mine works in market research, and he did a lot of in-depth interviews and wanted to transcribe everything and get summaries, and I have a great tool for that transcribe and summarize is awesome. He then said he wanted to have the transcriptions saved in a Word file, so I just pushed him into there. But later he reached out to me. Now, this isn't actually what they said, but I just swapped out some text. He said, well, he's got hours of stuff, and it takes up a lot of stuff on each page. So he has, let's say, 500 pages instead of probably 100 pages is what we could get it condensed down to. So he was asking if I could deal with the formatting and stuff. So I said, well, you could, shrink the margins, but because of these are on line breaks, that's not really going to help any. So what I did was I came into Word, and I don't know if you know this in Word. So there's some special characters in Word that you can do. So I came in and said, hey, let me play with this. What if I, and you can hit more and go into like format, and let's say paragraph. So what? Sorry. Not what I meant. It's special. Here we go. Paragraph mark is what I was looking for. So paragraph mark and then a character. So this would mean any, let's say digit. Any digit. So I'm going to replace anytime there's a paragraph mark and a digit, and then well, let's see. Yeah. So I'm going to replace that with just the paragraph mark. So I can come here, copy that, and paste this. Now, unfortunately, Word doesn't have regex built into it. Otherwise, this would be much easier. So I can do find next and see where it finds those. Okay, it's working. So it's actually happening twice. And what I might want to do is before I do that, and actually I want to put in, I'm glad I did that test, because what I'd probably want to do is put in, and I'll do a special here and say tab. And so now I can hit replace all. Let's see what it does. So that isn't quite what I wanted to do, right? It did get it down a little bit. But so anyway, what I did was I did this once, and I turned on the macro recorder, and then I brought it over to AutoHotkey and said, okay, well, first off, we need to connect to Word, activate the document, select the range. Then I'm going to look for anytime there's the paragraph mark speaker and replace that with a space speaker, replace paragraph mark pound, the number colon, and put in a tab, a space in a tab, apparently. I probably just want a tab. I think I can get rid of that. And even, Yeah, that's fine. And then here I said, look for, hey, anytime there's multiple paragraph marks, replace it with just one paragraph mark. So I'm going to save this and launch it. Now I'll come back to Word and hit my hotkey. And of course, again, this is only 3 things, right? But see how much that condensed the thing. And I should have measured it. It went, from hundreds and hundreds of pages down to probably like 100 pages. So it really helped him clean it up and have a lot more. And it took me just a couple minutes, right? But I used that macro. You have to, in order to see this developer tab, you do have to go into your settings and enable it. But when you have it on, you can say record a macro, go do some stuff, go look at your code, and then, hey, just give it to AI and say, can you convert this to AutoHotkey? Or I could have left it in a Word macro and just ran it there. But I wanted to have a little template, so if it came up again or if I found other stuff, because I'm more familiar with AutoHotkey code, I'd rather have it in here. And I have a cool little template now that allows me to do search replace in Word. So it was a fun little... So the smart reader, AJ, that client, he was asking about this tool, and I think we finally got it where I'm okay sharing it with him. So now you can drag in files. Let's see if I have... Well, these are weird files, but I won't actually change the names. But let's say I'm going to create a new prompt and say, let's see, replace all underscore with a space. Also, remove any people's names. Actually, let's say, instead of remove, let's say replace. Replace people's names with a different name so it is anonymous. I'll hit save, so that's going to be my, let's say, video test, give it a better name. Save. Oh, damn. I thought I fixed that. Let's see if it's in here. Video test. It did save. It's interesting. So there's still a little bug, so I'm still working through it. But I do have a tree view here, so I can select all, select none. I can say clean file names. It's going to show me a preview. That's awesome. So check it out. It changed AJ to John Doe. So this is why it's just AI is so cool, right? Makes it really, really fun. And if I wanted to do that again, but I wanted to do it only on certain ones, so let's just do it on these, right? I can be selective. Oh, yeah, well, that's fine. There we go. Oh, I hit rename. Yeah, this actually implements it. This one does it. But yeah, so cool. It's getting there. We're almost there. I did build into it also to say, hey, here's your Claude token. You can go get it. If I click this, it would show my token. I'm not going to get that. Prompts here, manage prompt, save current prompts. That AI wrote all this stuff for me. I think I'll probably remove this, get selected files from Explorer, because we had a hotkey for it, but I think I'm going to remove that. This is just a little bit about the executional stuff. Again, AI wrote all that, so that's why it's there. It does have a status bar. So we're building a lot more tools using AI, especially because we can use AI to write the tools using AI. And actually, speaking of which, I wrote, meaning Claude, I had Claude, Grok, because I paid for the Grok 4, and it is really impressive. And I used Grok to write, I gave it our OpenAI and Claude libraries that we use for automating those things with prompts, and said, go create a Grok library that will connect to the Grok API. And it took about 30 minutes, and it created working code where now I can send API requests to Grok's API and get, input and back. And we need more work. I'll have Irfan or Isaiah look at it and make some tweaks to it to see. I'm sure it'll need some changes, but it's great because now we can do some really cool stuff with Grok. So that's a smart file remember. This is the transcribe and summarize tool I mentioned. Amazing tool. I use it every day. And subtitle with video. I showed AJ. He had a call with a client from China, and they actually had a translator, and so the translator was speaking English to AJ, and occasionally would translate stuff to their actual client. And so what I suggested to AJ was, let let me figure out what language which they're actually speaking, and then I will add the language's subtitles so the person that was watching it that didn't speak English can see the language's subtitles. So it was actually, I think it came up with simplified Chinese, but OpenAI, if I remember it, that's what's doing our translations, only had Chinese. It didn't break it out with simplified or I forget what the other one's called, traditional. So I just said, okay, well let's take the Chinese and let's have it convert it. And so we added the characters and burned them into the video. And then I told AJ, I said, this is great, but I have no idea how good it did. And then I realized I have the Chinese subtitle characters. Let me give that to Google Translate and show a side by side back to English how well it did. And boy, it looked really good. Of like it took the Chinese stuff, converted it back to English, which is where we started from. And so I had an idea of what it was supposed to be, and it was really cool. So it's a fun little experiment. I also took, I was trying to detect the language. What I did was I extracted the audio file and I uploaded that to Notebook LM, and then I asked Notebook LM what language is being spoken, because unfortunately, Google Translate, if you give it, you can't detect language when it's spoken. You can only detect language when it's typed, which is really weird. Why, I don't know why they did that. I was trying to play the audio file and have Google Translate listen and have it detect the language. You can have it listen to Google Translate listen to your microphone, but it you have to decide on the language. So it was really weird to me. So I finally realized, hey, Notebook LM, I can upload an MP3 file. And then I just said, instead of having it translated or whatever, I just said, what language are they speaking? And it said, I think it said simplified Chinese, if I remember correctly. But it was a good workaround to be able to figure that out programmatically, because I don't know any of that stuff. When I used the translate and subtitle to get it back into their Clipster, as I mentioned, I'm making some updates so we can handle pushing files into your clipboard or probably rich text. I did some little research and it mentioned some other stuff, but I don't think the other ones are so rare that it's just not worth it. But if we had pictures, HTML, rich text, and files, to me, that's like the vast majority of how you use your clipboard, right? There were other ones, like for some reason, I think they had it for a special one for bitmap or a SVG image. It was some sort of a scalable vector image. But they're so rare, like it's just a picture. Why not just go with the picture? I'm not sure. Oh, the image to convert. I was trying to get this to convert to convert an SVG into a PNG, and it was trickier than I expected. I still had problems with that. I was also working with one to save the and edit the SVG editor, that's in there somewhere, and that one is basically ready to be released. And I had an SVG to PNG, so that's another one. I was working on a separate one for that. Let's see. Here's the Grok code, and then the Grok example. Let me see if I can run that. Now, right now, so this is the response, the JSON response. It just runs the query. It gave it the question was, give me hey there, no, somewhere here, the question was, give me a fun fact, I think, and it said, hey there, this is your fun fact for you, did you know, blah, 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 right? So that happened live, and it used, I forget which model, am I on this file? Yeah. We can take a quick look here, because I had it break out the question separately to make it easier. There's the Grok response. Let me edit it. Hello, so here's the prompt. Hello, Grok, tell me a fun fact. And then somewhere, so I was using Grok 3 model. I did, at one point, I had a list of the different Grok 4 is that new really cool model, but it takes a while, so I need to build in some sort of a time delay to wait for it. But yeah, this is just the example calling the Grok. So we include the Grok model, right? And this is just an example file using that library. We were making some updates to this one. During the hero call, we talked about how to bind a parameter, and so we're not finished updating this one yet, but we're going to make it much easier to use to connect to the correct object in either Word or Excel or whatever. There's a lot of COM objects, windows that you can connect to that might be the wrong one. Our notify class, we demoed that during the hero call. Here's that search and replace one that I jumped to. Save window location. So this actually, the bottom one here is a zoom window manager that you can move your zoom windows where you want them, hit a button, it will save it, and then we have a hotkey that you can hit to rearrange them. And when that was for a client, but what we realized is, why don't we build a tool that will just allow you to say, hey, this program, I want to remember where it is, and this one, and assign a hotkey to it. So I used AI a little and started creating this more generic one. It's not done, but it's a good start. But that will be able to allow you to drag a little cursor to the window to say, okay, that's the window, I want to remember where it is, and then assign a hotkey to it, and maybe assign a couple windows, right? But it'll be one hotkey to say, this is where I want to have a hotkey that remembers where my Zoom windows are, or I want a hotkey to remember where my Excel windows are, or whatever the programs are, right? So that's what I've been working on. Let me know if you guys have any questions or anything. Hope you have an awesome day, and thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon. Like the video if you learned something here. It really helps me out. Cheers.